Well, so, the goal of this is to live better, to live healthier, but there might be another way. There's many paths up to the mountain, right? Of living well. And I wanted to share this with y'all. This is, I actually got this from a few sources, but the main article here is from the SF Gate. Joshua Boat wrote this. So this is a story about a man who was on a quest for health. His name was Wiley Brooks. Already off to a good start. The guy's name is Wiley, so it's going to be good.
Sounds like a healthy guy, Dan. Sounds like a guy that hikes.
He was born in Tennessee in 1936, and he said that as a kid he was sick all the time and did not like to eat. And furthermore, he did not understand why anyone needed to eat.
You don't know? Your ass don't get to eat.
The Daily Mail reported that as a young man, he'd been a New York-based sound engineer, and he'd worked with the likes of Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, although journalists have never been able to verify any of these claims. So we're off to a good start.
Private Plan's like, let's get a couple of sandwiches in the studio. And he's like, why?
Let's
just keep going.
Why are you eating? Nevertheless, Brooke claimed that it was the death of Jimi Hendrix that led him down the path of investigating why people die, and he suspected the answer was food.
So I imagine he had some parents that weren't around, but did no one ever talk to him? Why do people die? Buddy.
Also, in the specific case of Jimi Hendrix, it's like, read the autopsy. It's pretty obvious why he died.
Well, if he didn't have food in his stomach, he wouldn't have vomited.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that. Great point.
Yeah.
Food. I guess
it's the food that killed him.
Food did. I mean, of course, it was the heavy barbiturates and heroin too, but food definitely
played a part.
On
played
paper,
a role.
Yeah, it ran a role.
Right here on Goods from the Woods, you found out first. Big food killed Jimi Hendrix.
That's right, big food.
The rapper,
not just Mama Cass, but also Jimi Hendrix.
The rapper Prodigy choked on an egg and died.
From Mobb Deep?
Oh, yeah.
That's how he died?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Well, but I mean, he also had sickle cell.
Yeah, he was.
I'm sure that helped.
Yeah, he was in the
played a role.
hospital for sickle cell, but he did get killed by choking on an egg.
Damn,
Jesus
dude.
Christ, dude.
That sucks, man. The pretzel didn't kill George W. and it killed fucking Prodigy. That's not fair.
It's not right.
So Brooks first gained national attention in 1980 when he deadlifted 1,100 pounds on an ABC variety show called That's Incredible.
I used to love that show.
Have you seen this show?
Such a great show. Because half the time it was incredible. The other half of the times it would be like an animal trainer is like, look, my bird can fly up to the producer up the stairs and back. And you're like, that wasn't incredible. More, it was just kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Well, this particular...
Oh, you taught a bird to fly? Oh, amazing.
So, I mean, they had to fill time somehow.
Oh, man.
Well, this really would have been incredible. So after lifting 10 times his own body weight, Wiley bragged that he hadn't eaten in 2 decades. And a year...
And yet I live.
And a year after...
Where do we go when we die?
We go on TV and lie to people. A year after his bodybuilding stunt with the spotlight dimming, he appeared on Tom Snyder's The Tomorrow Show to argue once again that anybody could subsist exclusively on air and sunlight. And it was then that Brooks unveiled his new philosophy to the world. Quote,
photosynthetic human being.
It's got the best name. Breatharianism.
Wow.
Like breath.
Like your breath. Yeah, you subsist off of just breath. Breatharianism, this is his quote, is a philosophy that believes that the human body, when it's in perfect harmony with itself and nature, is a perfect breatharian. You know, all the constituents that we need are taken from the air we breathe.
How embarrassed was he when he had to eat?
Oh, we might be headed that direction.
Okay.
Because I'm assuming he'd been eating in secret all these years.
Oh,
right, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
You mean to tell me this guy lived without food for 2 years? Maybe there's something to what he's
decades.
saying. 2 decades. 20 years.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
Brooks told Snyder in front of a studio audience that seemed both amused and entranced by his words. He went on to make other strange...
Entranced? No. Entranced, like, what the fuck is wrong with this?
Well, here's what I'm going to say. This was 1980 in America. We had just elected Ronald Reagan. People are demonstrably a bit stupider when it comes to things they see on TV. That it's like, oh, it's on TV. It must be the
Not
truth.
like our Trump area.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
People desperately wanted to believe in machines that could talk. Knight Rider, Airwolf, Transformers.
Oh, yeah, good point.
We needed
it. Wiley went on to make other strange, spurious claims, including that Breatharian mothers don't need to feed their babies because the children of Breatharians would be born able to survive on air and sun alone. He also said that prisoners who take part in hunger strikes and die are killed by their death wish, not from starvation. Wiley also had a habit of staring into the sun every day for several minutes.
He sounds like he was very good at lying.
Sometimes that's what a guy has to do, stare into the sun.
I mean, that's how you get the energy.
Everyone
It's like
does
Superman.
Everyone does
There
it.
comes a point in everyone's life where you got to stare to the sun directly for like 6 minutes.
Several minutes.
And just you kind of figure out who you are, which is a blind person. You're blind now.
There's a YouTube video of him doing this, by the way. Like he ended up like in this house out in the middle of the desert, and he's like, I can't be with anybody. He's just like sitting on his roof, just staring into the sun every morning.
If he looks in any way not like the guy from in Seven, like the sloth guy, then he's lying.
Well, no, he's very he is thin. I'll say that. Basic scientific knowledge of the human body notwithstanding, Brooks' message was beguiling, taking the nascent popularity of New Age culture at the time and translating it into the language of what we now call wellness. With his heavy focus on spirituality, he made the leap from a diet peddler to a guru. So now he's starting his own sort of religion here.
I don't understand what his plan to make money is here.
Oh, yeah. Low-fat and low-calorie junk foods like lean cuisine and Diet Coke filled Americans' fridges and minds in the 1980s, turning food into a deep source of shame. And the idea of self-restriction as the essence of health and beauty was already being shamelessly promoted in books and daytime television, so Brooks fit right in.
Of course he did.
So, this is another quote from him. When you eat, you're adding pollution to your system. That masks the pollution in the environment. Most people don't realize it at the time, but that is the reason that we find eating pleasurable. It alters the reality of the pollution around us. So just perfect bullshit. Like, I love it. Like, if you're already predisposed to just saying yes to any weird diet, this
is kind of more on the people who follow this.
Yeah.
I feel like him and L. Ron Hubbard had to be friends. They had to have known each other.
He was taking notes, I assume. So
Wiley takes tokes of the marijuana.
Yeah. So he soon had a healthy cohort of followers. He opened the Larkspur, California-based Breatharian Institute by the end of 1982 and began teaching classes. Dozens of adherents paid $500 for lessons from the master himself. And according to Brooks's cosmology, mankind was created as breatharian, and then we began to backslide through the epochs as liquidarians, fruitarians, and vegetarians. And eventually we slipped all the way to the meat counter at the local supermarket. And what we lost along the way was the realization that the human body was an air-gas electrical system.
Wow.
Just
so he's
like
basically
God
saying
intended.
the human body is just like a natural made Prius.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you just need sun and water. So
every time you take a shit, you should be ashamed of yourself.
yeah, you did
You
something
don't
wrong.
need to do that.
I love the evolution of it though, like a breatharian and then a juicitarian, and now eventually we're just I'm a hungry manitarian.
Well, he goes on to say that like food is not a source of nutrients; it's an addiction, like heroin. So he's saying like the fall of man was essentially from when we went to just being an air gas machine to when we got tempted by the
So
juices.
it's not something we need. It's just something our bodies have craved and become addicted to. Now you're like, I'll suck your dick for a cheeseburger.
Yes,
Right,
yes,
right.
exactly.
That's where it ends. Menace to society.
Wow, we didn't realize how prophetic that was.
So in the first session, Brooks advised against starting with fasting. Rather, he wanted his followers to first clean their blood by eating foods with a quote-unquote yellow vibrational quality. And so these were just not even necessarily yellow foods, but foods that he deemed to have a yellow energy. Which
Not bananas.
Yeah, well, it included everything from grapefruit to papayas to chicken to Haagen-Dazs rum raisin ice cream. I was like, okay, now I kind of like this.
So basically, it's every food that he peed on.
And over the years, his story and his rules about what breatharians could and could not eat kept changing. It's even possible the foods with a yellow aura were based on whatever he felt like eating that day. Things were going great for Brooks and the Breatharians until one fateful day in 1983. And this is from the Baltimore Sun, dated April 26, 1983. And the headline, just one of the best headlines of all time. Breatharian leader accused of eating.
Scandalous.
So here comes the fall. You were wondering when that third act was going to kick in. Here it is. A grave charge has been made against Wiley Brooks. He is accused of eating. The man who preaches the Breatharian gospel that life can be sustained on air and light.
Molesting a bunch of kids, but eating.
He said he had not eaten in 17 years, but is rumored to have been seen by one of his former associates sneaking hamburgers and Kentucky Fried Chicken. The charges were made against him by Lavelle Leffler, who used to be the manager of the Breatharian Institute, and quote, this is her quote, he's just a con man. The truth is he sneaks into 7-Elevens and fast food places and eats just like the rest of us, except it's worse because he has to rely on places that are open late at night.
Yeah, I like how she describes it as a sneak in.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's slipping in like a cat burglar.
So what does Brooks say to these outrageous charges? Quote, no one can prove I've taken any food. Look, we're dealing here with an angry, scorned woman. You understand? She's mad at me, and all she has to do to ruin me is start spreading the word that I've been sneaking into Circle K's all over the place. How can I defend against these lies?
But see, I get why he did that, though. Like 7-Eleven, Circle K's, and places like that. If anybody happens to pass and see him, like, all their food is basically cylindrical. He can immediately flip it up in his fingers and be like, oh, it's just a cigar.
Run it up his sleeve or whatever.
Yeah. It's all tube-shaped food. Easy to hide, easy to digest.
So more people come out and they say that they caught him drinking Coca-Cola. He starts having lectures, and then there's like a fracture in the Breatharian movement. So
it's not even that like he like broke to eat like an apple or something.
Yeah.
Like, he broke to eat shitty 7-Eleven food.
Straight fucking junk.
Yeah, he wanted a Monterey Jack and chicken taquito. That's what he went for.
One of those, what are they called? The tornadoes? It's just like
it's like the psychology of like you have to like hate food in order to just like you know what I mean? If thank God it wasn't some weird sex cult or something. Like at least it was just like he let everyone down by eating.
Yeah. So he was having some like event where he's giving a talk, and like half of his like followers that have broken away because they caught him eating show up, and they're like protesting this thing. Some of his followers claimed that one night they observed Brooks leaving a Santa Cruz 7-Eleven with a Slurpee, a chili dog, a chicken pot pie, and Twinkies. And I just gotta say, there before the grace. I mean, hey, sometimes it's late. That sounds like a damn good meal.
My favorite part of that was that I want to know which 7-Eleven he went to because I've never been to one that has a chicken pot pie.
Yeah,
I would
well,
absolutely get that.
Well, this is the 80s, so
and
you know.
it's the frozen kind.
Oh, actually, you know what? He's right. It probably is. They sell the frozen kind, and I don't know if they still do this, but back in the day, they used to have a microwave in
No,
there.
they do. They still do have
Yeah,
that.
so that's probably what it is.
I didn't even think about that. I was just like expecting it's 7-Eleven. I'm like, do they have a tube of chicken pot pie? How did I miss this?
I would also not like to eat if this was the food I consumed.
Right. It's because he has shitty taste in food.
Yeah.
He's just like, food is bad.
Well, no, he's only got the options that are open from like midnight to 4 a.m. because he's got to
That's
hide it
true.
all.
That's right, yeah.
But it's
So
weird because he's like in the Bay Area. I'm like, dude, go to the Mission and get a fucking taco, you weirdo. What are you doing at the
seriously.
7-Eleven?
There's so many street carts.
There's options.
I think he should have just not eaten.
But I love that
yeah.
like
Me
he's
too.
ducking into a Circle K the same way that a guy just puts on like a trench coat and glasses and like creepy hat to go into a porn shop.
To eat. So Brooks denied the claim, but the damage was done, and a mass mutiny soon followed, and most of his staff split away from him. Most of what happened to Wiley Brooks and the Breatharians for the rest of the 80s has been lost to history. One hint, though, came in 2013 when the actress Michelle Pfeiffer revealed that she was once a Breatharian.
Wow.
She's
Gotta look.
Probably when she filmed Scarface.
That's about when it was too,
Yeah.
like early to mid 80s.
I mean, if you see her in that movie, how skinny she is, I wouldn't like put it past her to,
Yeah. So she said that she had been introduced to the cult by a quote unquote very controlling couple as a young up and comer in Hollywood. Quote, I wasn't living with them, but I was there a lot, and they were always telling me I needed more, and I had to pay for all the time that I was there, and so it was financially very draining. So here's your Scientology.
This has all the parallels. You're right. This dude saw L. Ron Hubbard and was like, I'm doing my thing.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. This is like the heyday of cults.
Especially now knowing that like it was in Hollywood and like all
Right.
based around here with celebrities involved, for sure he was trying to tag onto that.
Yeah.
Sure. I
Well,
mean, he himself is kind of a washed up celebrity. I mean, he's working with like Jimi
Yeah.
Hendrix and all that shit.
yeah,
right?
well, supposedly. I mean, there's like we said, there's no proof of any of that. He's a washed-up celebrity in that he was on That's Amazing once and deadlifted.
But
some
same thing
stuff.
with like L. Ron Hubbard. He's just a washed-up science fiction writer.
Right. Yeah,
Right,
there you go. Yeah. So the Breatharian Institute moved around several times over the next few years, using similar grifts in Arlington, Texas, and then Bellevue, Washington. Wiley's logic shifted again in 1993 when he told the Seattle Times that he no longer believed that food was an addiction, but he believed instead that it was poison, and he believed that it could serve as medicine.
What?
A salve for low-quality city air. So this guy's like obsessed with pollution, I think.
Well, I think some point you got to move out of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This
Food
city-
is poison. The air is poison. You need to move back home.
Well, he's in San Francisco, so they got slightly they got
So
more.
the food is poison, but it's also the medicine.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think he's saying you can use it to like in the same way that you might use something that might be poisonous to cure cancer.
Kind of like how a
say.
Steve Irwin dude takes like little drops of like rattlesnake venom at a time, so
Yeah.
in case he gets bit.
Yeah, this is the you never challenge a Sicilian when death is on the line
Yes.
scenario. Yeah, so it got even more odd and arguably less healthy at the turn of the century. In 1999, he opened a new Breatharian Institute in Santa Cruz and began teaching seminars in the Sierra Nevada mountains focused on the fountain of youth and how to obtain
This guy is
everlasting life.
Yeah. It's fucking. God, shut up, fella.
Right, like it started off interesting. Now it's just like, dude,
Yeah.
settle down.
Jesus.
Well, we're about to go to space.
Oh,
everybody.
Did you
So
get shot out into space? Please, God.
Better fucking
Why
go to
not?
space quick here.
We've been everywhere else with Wiley Brooks. We've been on this journey.
Now I want to hear every single stupid thing you ever said.
Oh yeah, here we go. In 2009, the official gospel of Breatharianism was again updated, this time with a convoluted explanation of how a McDonald's cheeseburger meal and a Diet Coke can help keep a Breatharian healthy. In a fifth dimensional universe, apparently the base frequency of that specific meal aligns with the needs of man.
What?
So
Does
he's
he have
got
like a certain timbre to his voice? That, like, why do people listen to him
I
at all?
don't know. I have no idea.
He name drops Michelle Pfeiffer, and people are like, well,
Yeah. The idea of separate but interconnected 5D and 3D worlds was a major part of Wiley Brooks' ideology, and he encouraged followers to only eat those special 5D foods as well as meditate on a set of magical 5D words. So now he's like calling the McDonald's cheeseburger and Coke. He calls it an elixir of the gods, and he also at that point begins selling 32-ounce bottles of water that supposedly flow from the legendary fountain of youth and immortality in the Garden of Eden, and that costs $10,000. Which I don't think he ended up selling many. He was marketing specifically to like very stupid billionaires, which I actually am in favor of that, ripping
But
off
where
on
was
rich
the
people.
Garden of Eden? Like Pacoima?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
right, wherever the home offices of McDonald's, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
And here's the wind down. By the 2010s, of course, Brooks started following the trends of conspiracy belief and began decrying the Illuminati and chemtrails for making it harder to become a Breatharian. And this is like the worst.
You
when-
had your own thing, though.
You had your own goddamn thing.
You know?
Why did you lazy? You're getting lazy here, Wiley. Come on, man.
Yeah, like now he's running out of stuff. He's not creative anymore, so he's just tagging on to QAnon shit.
Yeah. He was really big on the December 21st, 2012 Mayan calendar thing.
Oh,
yeah, that was a great one.
And then when it didn't happen, this was his
Harold Camping.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant man.
So when it didn't happen, this was his Facebook status from January of 2013. Greetings. The ascension to the world did happen right on schedule. But for those who did not ascend, there will be a limited amount of time or a grace period for people in the 3D Earth worlds to learn how to survive these new energies. Therefore, my immortality workshop will be extended to March 23rd, 2013. So,
My
Wow.
birthday.
oh, yeah. Never,
Hey, happy birthday.
never stop hustling.
You know what your birthday present's going to be this year?
I don't think this guy's selling.
Oh, yeah. Well,
breath.
Well,
yeah, a box full of breath.
Yeah, that's so sweet of you. I love to breathe.
Yeah.
Well, so he's not selling much of anything. 2013 was the year that Brooks moved to Tucumcari, New Mexico, in order to set up a 9-dimensional hotel. And according to one thing I read later that year, he caught on fire and got really
like he personally
Wow.
caught on fire?
He caught on fire and got got pretty badly burned, and from then on, he only wore polyester, and he slept in a sleeping bag to protect him from what he called the cosmic fire.
God. So he caught on fire, and then he just wrapped himself in a giant flammable bag.
Yeah. Well, he's got a.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Of course. He's been on drugs the whole time.
I mean,
Probably,
one is safe to assume. He died in 2016 at the age of 80. At the time of his death, his particular vision of Breatharianism was a sad fringe phenomenon with few adherents devoted to its founder, but his philosophy has spread widely enough even after his 80s downfall, with at least a dozen gurus taking up the mantle of Breatharianism.
Oh, God.
So this shit is still going. Like, this dude was totally discredited, but somehow this dumbass idea continues. Like, there's a lady in Australia
What
who
drug is it that will do this? You don't eat, but when you do find one thing you like I'd declare this to be dope as heaven, and then you burn up. Is that like a
Yeah, we
meth?
don't know how he caught on fire.
it didn't say. I was like I
How
said,
does
I
it
like
not
a
say, how
big,
does it say all this other dumb bullshit about this
dude,
guy?
well,
Does
yeah,
not
but
say
not-
how it catches
It's kind
I
of a
mean-
big detail to leave out. It's
Yeah.
like, all these things happen, and then in 2013 he caught fire anyway. Like, no, how?
Yeah,
Why?
He spontaneously combusted. How?
I
was
mean-
it just his arm? Was the whole person?
Like I said, I sourced most of that from the SF Gate article, and then I got curious and found a book about scammers that had a chapter on this guy, and then it just mentioned like, oh, and he caught on fire and only wore polyester from then on.
But that's one of those things. It's like it leaves me with more questions than answers.
Oh,
Like,
for sure. I
there was
couldn't
a-
find even like an obituary for this guy, so I only found out that he died at that year, but I don't know when.
I love little bits of stories like that where it just throw in something just like, and then in this part he caught fire. Like, no, there's so much more to it.
That should have been the whole story.
Like, I met this,
a guy caught on fire.
There's this lady I met a couple months back. We were in a group talking about issues with bank accounts, and she was like, "Oh, I got a great story about how I ended up losing my bank account and having to like restart a whole nother one." So
Yeah.
basically, I had this bank account with Bank of America, right? And like, I ended up in a coma for about 8 months. So when I got out of the coma, I was trying to call them, and they were like, "You owe back." I'm like, "Wait a minute."
no way.
Don't just go straight to the bank account
Hold on.
issue.
Let's go
Like,
back.
I got it. They canceled your account because you were in a coma for 7 months, but the whole coma thing, like, this is
Yeah.
what we need to talk about. Like,
Well,
she just skimmed over, like, when people go into comas.
And the most annoying thing was the bank account.
Yeah.
But I realized, like, over the course of a couple days talking to her, that's just how she told stories. Like, she told
Probably
another story
brain
because, like,
damage.
someone mentioned, like, a racist situation they were involved in. She's like, oh, yeah, I had to
Yeah,
deal
I
with this
do a lot of
racist white
bad
guy. Like,
shit.
I had all kinds of stuff going on with him, and he was always mean. So, like, this one day, the cops came after he had thrown me into a bush and threw the bicycle on top of me, right? And I'm
Whoa.
trying to climb. I'm like, what led to that?
Oh my goodness!
What the hell?
So I'm jumping out of a helicopter, right? And I sprained my ankle.
Jimi Hendrix did that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
did he do that?
Jimi Hendrix joined the paratroopers when he had to sign up for the army because he was like, this is the most likely thing to get me hurt, and indeed he fucked his foot up and got discharged.
Oh, that's
Did that happen to Mama Cass too?
Yeah.
Or did she just choke on the ham sandwich?
Yeah, well, there's some of these gurus still out there. There's a lady in Australia named Ellen Grieve who goes by Jazz Muheen, and she's responsible for 5 deaths have been directly linked to Breatharianism as a response to Jazz Muheen's practices. So yeah, Wiley Brooks, legendary, just kicking it.
everything about this guy seems like he came from that period where his parents were complete drug users and like took acid while they were pregnant and had him.
yeah.
Potentially.
He grew up during the acid craze and like became an adult the same time with Timothy Leary, all those guys, and then he latched on to like saw Scientology
Yeah.
and all these other,
Which
like,
is Charles
and he
Manson's
kind of
path
mixed
as well.
and mashed them all together to a degree.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm sure this also had a little. That's why, like, dummy actors got like lopped into it because like, you can make me skinny and beautiful.
Yeah, and all I have to do is stare in the sun.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, it seemed a lot of other people seem to be following him.
Yeah.
That's the fascinating thing to me is it's always been a thing since the beginning of Hollywood. Still to this day, it's like a celebrity says something, people don't question it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow told me to put this thing in my hooch. Like,
Yeah.
that's not good for you. Don't listen to her.
Oh man, if I found it
But
great
she's
for me-
famous.
Yeah.
But I mean, even back to like the 30s or like Betty Davis would just be like, smoke 5 Marlboro cigarettes every day. It's healthy. It keeps you thin.
All right,
Yeah,
right.
I'm going to do that.
That's why I smoke like 10 a day.
You're only down to 10. That's good.
That's because Betty Davis told you to.
That's kind of like my fighting weight. Is 10 cigarettes a
You
day.
have to cut to that weight.
Yeah.
You gotta
Oof.
cut.
Yeah, you gotta cut.
That's funny. Like every smoker knows how many you have to smoke to keep yourself down to just one meal for the whole day.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's like to eat just one meal. It'd have to be a humongous meal and like 3 packs of cigarettes. The fact that I got COVID once is like I'm not making it to 44. The way I live.
Not unless you practice breatharianism.
That's right. Breatharianism.
Yep.